What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, alongside the Tom Hiddleston to my Chris Hemsworth, Lester Jones.
Hello, everybody.
Hiddleston's all right.
That one at least compliments both of us, I think. And of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder, doing the deed and spreading that seed, the rootin' tootin', skeet shootin', filling up pies with the might of 50 guys. I ain't telling no lies. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Hello, everyone.
All right, guys. Just a heads up to everybody. At the end of the show, we'll be doing a review of the new movie on HBO Max, The Little Things. And unlike that movie, we'll actually deliver on what we set up. Hey, what have you guys been watching this week? What have you been playing? Any, how many buttholes have you eaten this week?
I'll let you go first, Lester.
I don't know. Not too long ago, I watched the Night Stalker, which was a decent documentary.
Who's that about?
Richard Ramirez.
What was his gimmick? I'm not familiar.
He was he'd break into houses at night and just kill people. Like, I forget what city it was in. It was in California. But yeah, just like randomly go into people's houses and just.
Did he rape them too, or just kill them?
He raped women, but he was also like he was abducting and raping children, but he was letting the children go.
Weird.
So yeah, it was a weird profile. But yeah, creepy guy.
Like what decade was this that it was going on?
I want to say it was like the mid 70s.
And when did they finally catch him?
I think it was like 75, 77, somewhere in there.
Oh, so he wasn't one of these guys that was like on the run for like a long time.
It was a number of months. I want to say it was like at least half a year. They counted off how many days they were looking for him, and I already forgot. But yeah, he was out there for a while. And they were pretty like paranoid about him. So yeah, but as far as documentaries go, it really digs into like the two cops and what they were going through, and what it was all like kind of for them. So it was pretty good from that point of view.
I like crime fiction, but for whatever reason, like watching stuff like that doesn't really do it for me.
I don't know.
It's depressing.
Like some of the true crime stuff is definitely super dark. I'm kind of into like the macabre stuff sometimes. But yeah.
I've been watching a show called The Great. It's supposed to be about Catherine the Great and her marriage to her husband, how she's trying to get power and stuff. It's interesting. It's funny.
Has she fucked a horse yet?
No horse fucking.
Damn.
Apparently that was a rumor.
Was that who's in the movie or like
This is a show.
Oh.
It's got Elle Fanning and I don't know if you know this guy. I think his name is Chris Holt. He played the Beast in Marvel's.
It's gonna be a show just me shut it up.
Man, I've been freezing all day.
Well, it was cold until I got in here. Yeah, I turned down the heat because we got that $200 electric bill, and I was like crying. So I was like, I guess it's time to.
I'll shiver to save $20.
Time to take on the Wim Hof method right now.
I caught up on Star Trek Discovery, so I finished season 3 of that. I think if you're someone like me who like entry point to Star Trek was like those J.J. Abrams movie and like you're okay with most likely the not written as well but more action and better production values type of Star Trek, I think you'll have a fun time with it. But yeah, I haven't watched a ton of old school Star Trek. I've watched maybe like, I don't know, a season and a half of Star Trek The Next Generation, and I would like to get back to it at one point, but I don't know.
Yeah, I watched that one back in the day. Which one's Discovery?
So Discovery is the new one that's on CBS All Access. And yeah, it's just it's weird because
It's not the Scott Bakula one.
No, no, that one I think was called Star Trek Enterprise. Never saw that one, but I think both that one and this one. See, this one to start off with takes place before the original series.
Yeah, okay.
But then this is a bit of a spoiler, but I'm sure anyone watching this probably doesn't care too much. Like in season 2, they end up going through a wormhole. So like now they're way into the future in season 3.
Oh, okay.
And then just last night I started WandaVision on the Disney Plus.
Oh, you took out a new subscription?
I did.
Ooh, I'm in for some new TV.
The thing that surprised me is I didn't know that they're only half-hour episodes. They're not hour episodes. They're only like 30 minutes apiece. So
they're kind of keeping with that.
So I watched 3 episodes of it, and it's I don't know. It's too early for me to make a call. It seems fine, but I don't know. It seems a little basic. Like it's nothing's really surprised me yet. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe when that show's all done, which I think will be within a couple weeks, maybe we can do a review of that on the show.
Yeah. There's going to be 6 episodes, right?
I think so. So yeah, it'll probably only take you like 3 hours to watch it because like they're short episodes.
Yeah, I can probably drag up a few hours.
All right. Well, why don't we get started with the show? AJ, as tradition dictates, we'll start with you.
All right. And as tradition dictates, we'll start with sex.
Nice.
Restaurant hosted swingers party with guests having sex on tables during COVID. A Japanese restaurant in a Brazilian city has been slammed after it apparently hosted a swingers party with guests brazenly having sex on the table. Amid soaring COVID cases in the country, the sex party enraged some of the country after registering more than 900,000 active coronavirus cases. It was exposed via social media on the Twitter page Brazil Fede COVID, which documents reported cases of so-called covidiosity. So basically like idiocracy, but with covidiosity, I don't know. In the South American country. The ill-timed party was said to have taken place on Saturday in the city of Curitiba, in Brazil's southern Parana state. According to local media, the party was reportedly for restaurant staff and took place after closing time. Employees were said to have romped on the tables that customers were eating from just hours earlier. The restaurant, which has been identified as Izakaya Hyotan, is said to have been a relatively new business and had previously won praise for closing voluntarily in March to help to stop the spread of COVID. The Parana State Justice Department has since responded to the post on social media and said that it is already aware of the facts and is opening an inquiry to investigate what happened. On the day of the alleged romp, Parana State registered 3,127 new COVID cases. Brazil currently has 945,650 active COVID cases. So people fucking in a restaurant. I mean, it's their own.
Yeah, I'm tired enough of the virus. Like, if people want to do whatever the fuck they want, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah, just warn people before they go eat there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be like, I wouldn't want to like eat like a fucking, chicken parm and then be like, oh, guess what happened here last week?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I got super gunner.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I jizzed that plate.
Mid-bite, you're like, ugh. Like 2 minutes ago, you dumped something on the top of the table and you just ate it. Like,
I thought the place was clean. It smelled like bleach.
Who wants to fuck at a restaurant, though? Who are these people?
yeah, it's not a top choice.
Yeah, on tables? It's uncomfortable. You could break a table, all kinds of stuff. It's just... I don't get
It's
people.
just for the story, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen those, like, outdoor, like, party beds that people have, and they're, like, when they're rich, they have those pools and those big party beds by the pools. Now, that makes sense. Fucking one of those. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, is that as good as a story as like we broke into a Long John Silver's and fucked on the table?
As what?
It'd be fun if you like broke into a shitty restaurant, like a Long John Silver.
That would probably improve the business.
There's probably like 2 fat chefs that have sex on the table every night.
All right, time to make the sauce.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, should we change things up and go manifesto round 1?
Manifesto. Okay, so apparently 3 pieces of shit cops. They handcuffed a 9-year-old girl and pepper sprayed her.
jeez.
9 years old.
Was she black?
She was black.
Ah,
And she was fighting with them, but I mean, she's fucking 9 years old.
yeah.
I mean, fuck off.
Three
Two
grown
grown men and 1 woman.
Jeez.
And you're telling me they can't take care of a 9-year-old kid? I don't know. Fucking garbage, man.
Man, there was a similar story I almost did a couple weeks ago. Then I was like, no, this is too depressing. Where like, I want to say these cops, like they were trying to subdue this kid with autism. And I think they like sat on him maybe to keep him down. Anyway, he ended up dying and it was like a
Oh,
whole
Jesus.
fucked up thing.
Yeah, you see, it's not just black either. It's like you see it with all kinds of people. Like people who have mental problems, the police don't know how to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are tricky because some people with mental illness are dangerous. But I mean, when you're dealing with kids, I mean, come on.
Yeah, there was one kid I remember. He had like a toy gun. They shot him. Like a cop shot him.
Yeah, that's kind of tricky.
But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, man. Look. I know it's a hard job, but I mean, it's a 9-year-old kid. You got to look at it and be like, I can't do that.
You got to find some way to vet people maybe a little bit better than that.
Yeah, that's one thing they're talking about, how they want to vet police forces. And so Biden talked about that. But, I mean, how are you going to vet them? What are you going to do? What if you can't get enough people to join?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes your hiring standards go a little lower when you're short-staffed.
Yeah, I had a friend who told me that in, like, 2 different counties in Dallas. Like, one was, I think, Collin County, and one was, like, Travis or something, like the Dallas big county. And, they had like 2 different like huge requirements for cops. Like one was like just do 3 push-ups, have a high school degree, whatever.
Right.
And one was like you got to do like 40, 50 push-ups. You got to like have this degree. And, you know,
Pretty big difference.
yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully they can make it better for everyone.
You know, the whole thing about, you know, police not, you know, dealing well with people with like, you know, mental illness. Like, I really think, you know, especially when it's like homeless people, like if we were allowed to, you know, when they have a bad interaction with someone who has obvious mental illness and they're homeless, if they could like put them in an institution, because there's so many people out there that really just, if they could get on the right medication, would be fine. But
That's probably true.
well, it is, but you know, most cities have it to where it's not like that anymore, where, you know, you can institutionalize someone. But like so many homeless people would be better off. They have needs that aren't being addressed, and like they're never going to get better if they can't get in a place where they can get help. And you know, a lot of them probably do need meds that they're not getting.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the argument for it, but also America has a really shitty history on that front. So
Yeah, I mean, you worry about abuse either way, because, you know, I'm sure there are some of those institutions that are not well run. But, you know, it's got to be better than having those poor people, like, you know, out on the street. But I don't know. Anything else on your topic?
not really. Yeah, just that one popped out at me. It's pretty upsetting.
That's what she said.
Classed up that time. Well, I figured I had to, because it was kind of the big story of the week. I kind of had to talk about the whole, you know, GameStop, you know, stock situation. Now, I don't know enough about the stock market to totally be competent on this topic, but I tried to, you know, do enough research to wrap my head around it the best I could. So the thing I think I want to start out with is I found a Twitter post by, I wish I had the guy's name here, but a guy that kind of broke it down into simpler term. So, because I had definitely heard of shorting, stock shorting,
Right.
but I didn't know exactly what that meant. So I'm going to read this because he kind of breaks it down. I know at least one of my followers doesn't quite understand what is happening in the stock market right now, and that's enough to motivate me to explain because this is somewhat of a turning point in world history. First, you need to understand what a short is in trading. A short is when you borrow a stock from a broker and sell it. That's one thing I didn't know you could do is borrow a stock. But it's when you borrow a stock from a broker and sell it immediately at its current price. Then you hope the stock's price falls such that you can buy the stock back at a lower price and return the shares you borrowed to your broker, but keeping the difference. Example, let's say I want to short XYZ, which has a current price of $10. I borrow one share and sell it immediately at $10. I have $10 now, but I owe my broker the one share I borrowed. Then let's say the price of XYZ drops to $7. I now decide to buy it back, my short position, and buy one share at $7 and return the $1 borrowed share to my broker. I made $10 when I sold and only had to pay $7 to buy it back lower, so my profit is the $3 difference. But now let's say that instead of the XYZ price dropping to $7, it goes up to $15. I still need to return the one borrowed share to the broker, except now it's going to cost me a lot more to buy it back. If I buy it back at $15 so I can return the borrowed shares, my losses will be the $5 difference between selling at $10 and rebuying at $15. Since the price can rise indefinitely, my potential losses as a short seller are unlimited. At some point, I have to buy it back to return the shares I borrowed. The more the price rises, the bigger my losses. Now, for GameStop, a few weeks ago, a Redditor on the subreddit Wall Street Bets noticed that a hedge fund had taken a massive amount of short trades against GameStop. They convinced everyone on the thread to join forces and buy as much GameStop stock as possible. This made the price rise and the hedge fund short position started to lose billions. Their losses even surpassed the $13.1 billion that the hedge fund was worth. Eventually, the hedge fund had to close their short positions and buy all the GameStop stock back at much, much higher prices, sending the price even higher still. This is called a short squeeze. Now the hedge fund is declaring bankruptcy, and the Reddit thread is combing through other hedge funds with massive short exposure so they can short squeeze them into bankruptcy as well. All of Wall Street is saying that the public joining together in this fashion should be illegal, but really they just lost at their own game to the masses. So what I found interesting about this is kind of what it's saying in that last line is the kind of hypocrisy and the kind of what's good for the goose, as in the rich people, isn't good for the gander, and the poor people. Because to go along with this, one of the big, apps that people use to trade, the Robinhood app, and I think Robinhood got the most exposure on this, but I think Ameritrade might have done it too. After this happened, they basically made it so their customers couldn't buy those stocks. They put a block on them, where at the same time the hedge funds, they can still do transactions with those stocks. So essentially they did that. By doing that, they protected those hedge funds. And I wish I could find it. I also read somewhere that basically Robinhood had some sort of vested financial interest in
they were insolvent.
Yeah, in doing that as well. And so you see kind of a corruption that way. And then the other kind of thing that I found interesting is after Robinhood did this, people went and basically wrote a bunch of shitty reviews on the Robinhood app, and Google went through and deleted a bunch of those so that, Robinhood's app would maintain like a 4-star rating, which I think is kind of, fucked up on Google's part as well. So yeah, what do you guys think of all this?
Yeah, I was mad at Robinhood too. I'm not one of the traders, but my sister, she trades, And she said that they cut off her ability to, like, I think, buy or sell or one of those things.
Yeah, well, I think it was just limited to certain stocks, but yeah, they
Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah,
those
GameStop.
and I think, probably AMC and a few of the other ones that were kind of caught up in that similar thing. But yeah, you just see how the system is rigged in favor of the rich when shit like this happens. I'm glad these Redditors did this. I'm sure they'll change the rules so that they can never do it again, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic that the website is called Robinhood, like, but here they are, like, oh, fuck the poor. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just...
it seems like they lost an opportunity that they kind of had.
Yeah, the whole name and everything suggests that they would give power to the people, but not the case. I don't know. I mean, I like people having more control over the market. Yeah, they can do insidious things, but... At least everyone gets a say as opposed to like just the hedge funds who control everything.
Well, I mean, it really cuts the bottom out of like, shorting, which some people were kind of against on principle anyway, because you're kind of betting against the market. So they're like, fuck you. But
I mean, it is market manipulation to do it.
I mean, inherently, I don't see anything necessarily terrible about it because some stocks are overpriced and you might see something coming down the pipe where you would want to bet against something, but if you get caught with your pants down.
But how fallible a system is it that a company like GameStop that's most likely on its way out if it doesn't change their whole business is now valued really highly, and that'll go back down, of course.
Back down, yeah.
But the fact that it could even for this period of time look like it's a highly valued company is kind of crazy,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I'm fine with that. If people want to give value to GameStop and, its stock rises, that's fine. I know it's fake, like it's not truly how the market's supposed to work. But, I mean, I think as long as people have like the ability to trade and stuff like that, they have the power to like manipulate it however they want, and that's something you can't change.
I gotta say though, like, and this is just how much I've never been interested in stocks and things, like the whole notion that you could like borrow a stock and then sell it and then give that same number of stocks back later. I didn't even know it worked like that, like
Well, I mean, it's essentially like a contract, but yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of astounding, how Robinhood and those apps did that, and it even garnered. I saw like even like both some Democratic and Republican people on Twitter like saying it was fucked up, but which actually the Republican side surprises me because I'm sure they get plenty. Well, both and corporate Democrats probably. I'm sure they get donations from all the Wall Street people. So, but we'll see how everything goes in the future. If I'm interested to see like if they because they're going to put some regulation into where something like this can't happen again. I'm sure.
The hedge funds are going to get more power after this.
Probably.
Yeah,
but it's nice.
Lobbying.
It's nice having that moment of when they're complaining, when they're unhappy for a little while.
I was thinking about the ratings thing, and like, it's not the first time. What was the? There was some app where everybody got all pissed off, and there's like 1 billion Indians went and downvoted it.
Yeah.
But I think they went back and deleted all that. Right? What app was that? I'm forgetting.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, that's kind of a huge manipulation. And their excuses are like, well, people are just, banding together to, make Robinhood look bad or whatever. But it's like, no, Robinhood made Robinhood look bad.
Yeah.
And these people are just, expressing themselves. So, all right. I guess I gave this topic enough air. I wish I could speak more authoritatively on stock bullshit. But it was such a big story, I couldn't see not talking about it a little bit on this week's show.
Yeah.
So AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right, I just thought this was kind of funny. I saw them cover this a little bit on SNL, so I wanted to get into it. OJ gets COVID-19 vaccination. Gitmo detainees don't. The juice got some juice, as in the much coveted COVID-19 vaccine, and some people aren't having it. So you got that pun that you wanted. While millions wait to get their shot in the U.S., ex-con O.J. Simpson gleefully reported on his Twitter account that he got his jab in the arm last Friday in Las Vegas with an accompanying photo. "Get your shot, I got mine," Simpson 73 wrote on his Twitter account, the real O.J. 32, where he has over 905,000 followers. Needless to say, so many of the Twitterverse were not amused. "My 93-year-old grandfather, Navy veteran living in an assisted living facility, is still waiting on his. Unbelievable. Murderer should be the last in line. My 79-year-old dad who fought in Vietnam is still waiting for his turn." To be clear, the disgraced football star was acquitted of the 1994 murders of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her acquaintance Ron Goldman. And apparently Simpson, who's been living in Sin City since he's been released from prison after serving 9 years for a failed 2007 Las Vegas hotel room robbery, had access to an early shot because he's over 70 in Nevada. If you're 70 plus, you're eligible for a shot, his lawyer Malcolm P. Laverne told the New York Post. "You can schedule your shot and they'll do it. There's no favoritism, and with him being a celebrity, this has nothing to do with his getting a shot." Simpson said that in a subsequent video posted on his Twitter account that he and his daughter waited for hours over 2 days to set up their Pfizer shot at his local Walgreens. But yeah, so basically people are pissed off that OJ got his shot.
Yeah.
I would have said he got a stab in the arm rather than a
Yeah,
jab.
yeah, the jab, yeah.
It was a lost opportunity.
Gotta get you to write these.
Can you imagine if your dad was O.J. Simpson? Like, the one thing he's famous for is killing a lady.
Not the one thing.
Yeah, he was super, like, he was
Okay,
America's,
He was in a movie with Leslie
Yeah,
Nielsen, for fuck's sake.
he was like America's hero. Like,
But I would say one of those facts kind of supersedes the others in the way he's viewed.
yeah, the robbery of that Vegas place was bad.
But, like, wouldn't that be weird? Like, like you're almost sure. Like, would you try to convince yourself that, oh, maybe my dad didn't commit murder? Or would you just be like, oh, he's my dad?
Yeah, I mean, you still do see people, like serial killers with kids, and they're still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how a serial killer can have a family. That's always nuts to me, how they can separate those two things.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think if you had like a close family member that ended up being like some psychopathic, serial killer, would you go visit him in prison, or would you just like write him off? Like if it was like your dad or your kid, or
Like I don't keep in touch with people I like.
I would visit, I think.
I don't think I'd give a shit.
what if it was your own kid and they did something heinous?
Yeah, then I might.
I mean, it'd be fucking hard either way, but. All right. Manifest.
have,
oh, go ahead.
We have that one like relative who like killed somebody, and our uncle goes and visits him, right?
Yeah, and I'm not actually. He was trying to get him out of prison, and I think he might have. I don't know.
Yeah, he seemed like a psychopath.
He seemed like he was in there for shaken baby syndrome, like he killed his kid, and then like years later they're trying to say that it wasn't that, and I don't know if they ever successfully got him out of prison.
Yeah, I only
Or
ever knew
not.
him as a kid, but he seemed like a real fucking creep back then.
I mean, I wasn't old enough to know him then, but just, everything I heard about him, he seems like a fucking psycho.
Oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah. Well, then
What was so psycho about him? What did he seem like?
I don't know. He just wasn't right. Something was wrong.
Okay.
But he'd had like a weird childhood too, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, what's fucked up, so our grandma, my mom's mom, like, after they had, my mom and their naturally born kids, which they didn't do like a great job with, like not the most,
yeah, it doesn't seem like they really like kids, so I don't know.
but
They
they're,
had 'em.
but
They
then
adopted some more.
yeah, they adopted like all these other kids, like 3 or 4 of them.
It was
and
her,
like
her sister's kids, right?
I don't know. But anyway, like most of them had been like molested by like some dirty grandpa of theirs or something, and so they were all fucked up.
Yeah, they were all
and
fucked
then,
up.
yeah, all of them had like tough, childhoods and
Do you think it's harder growing up in the country because there's less like? I feel like in cities you have so much more constricted, like, you have to live a certain way almost. Like you can't like just go outside and do whatever you want.
Well, that's one nice thing about living in the country.
Yeah, but I
You
mean,
can just be like latchkey kids. You'd be like, fucking get out of the house and go run around the forest, be back for dinner,
yeah, no, that sounds like a lot of fun actually. But I mean, just the way people might go outside the box with their thinking, like this grandpa or whatever who molested is, I'm not saying that you wouldn't.
I
Get
mean,
that in
I
the
think
city,
you get creeps, everywhere.
yeah. I mean that unfortunately that shit happens in the cities and everywhere too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard telling, like, because you never know. The grass is always greener type of thing. But we grew up in a trailer park, and I mean, I guess one of the good things about that, especially living right next door to our cousins, is we could always go outside and play.
Yeah.
And there was a freedom there. Whereas, like, you grow up in a city, you're not going to feel probably as comfortable to do that.
It wasn't always even like that, though. But I mean, even in cities, kids used to go play outside, but it's just like, it feels like a changing of the times. Like,
Yeah,
kids aren't
technology.
outside as much.
I remember we lived in Houston. We played baseball like right outside our house. We played
Yeah, you play in the
sports,
street or
everything.
whatever,
Yeah, with a
yeah.
bunch of kids in the neighborhood.
Well, and I think people are just probably more aware of just how many, sex offenders and whatnot are out there too,
That's true.
and are probably a little more protective.
Yeah.
Man, did you hear? Because there was, this was several years ago. There was a news story because they have like helicopter parentings or whatever.
Yeah.
But like then like many years ago, there was like this woman in New York, I guess, called a free range parent or whatever, that would just let her kid like ride the subway and go do shit. But I was like, man, there's
You'd be
no
scared
fuck.
shitless all the
Yeah,
time.
and she was fine with it. And then just her little kid, going off on his own, I'd be like, there's no fucking way I could do that if I had a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let him go ride the subway alone. Are you fucking kidding me?
No. That's next level. I don't know how.
There's adults who don't want to ride the subway.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, is this lady's begging to be turned into child protective services?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And what about that underwear day that they ride the subway on? Then they're in real trouble.
That'd be a traumatic childhood
Yeah.
experience. You're just
Oh my
like,
God.
going down my subway.
But
Where's everybody?
Where's all these wieners?
But you
Probably
said,
just be like, I'm in, motherfucker.
but how you were saying when you were, Ubering that person, and everywhere you go, you got stopped by the naked bike riders. Like, kids have to be seeing that shit. And
Oh,
being like,
that's-
what's
yeah.
going on there, mom?
The thing is, I don't think kids give a shit, man.
Yeah.
Kids love being naked.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying we should be that uptight as a society about nudity, but if I was a kid and I saw a bunch of people riding naked on a bicycle, it would have blew my fucking mind. I would be like, "What's going on?"
Especially if you don't know about something like that and you have like no context.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember when we were in India, we saw a guy who was like supposed to be like a guru, like like he just started his own religion, or
Right.
whatever. And like he had these beautiful cars, like they were all white, like not Bentleys, but like Mercedes
right.
and BMWs, and they're all following him, and he was in a wheelchair naked, and me and my sister were just like laughing, like, what is going on? Who is like, how did he get this loyal following? And he's just like, whatever, look at me, and just people are pushing him, and they're all following him.
You got to have the fucking nuts, man. You just got to fucking go all in.
He definitely had the nuts hanging real low. He was old.
Man, I don't know if we talked about this on that show where we talked about nudity, but I remember as a kid, probably, I don't know, 10 to 12 years old, like, I actually watched one of those like National Geographic shows about like a tribe in India, just because it had like a naked woman on there, and it like blew my mind. And I was like, it was one of those things where like I'd seen
this was National Geographic's like bread and butter.
I had seen so like few like naked women, like probably none at that point, that I was just like, man, I'm transfixed. I gotta watch this show.
Yeah, they got me hooked with that too. Big old saggy titties.
Yeah, they weren't great.
Yeah. I used to be like, okay, all right, this is what they look like, huh? All right. But yeah, just they need bras in the third world, man. Lots of them.
Where are we? Are we on yours now?
Is we? I don't know. I've been following the Russian Navalny a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So like he went back to Russia. He knew he was going to get arrested. So he got arrested. They were going to try to give him 3.5 years, and they sentenced him to 2.5 years. But they had a protest, before he was being tried, I think, and like they picked up like 5,000 relatively peaceful protesters and put them in and detained them.
Oh.
It's like 5,000, and there's more like protests planned for this weekend, which he's encouraging. So,
yeah, and I hope the protests make a difference. I hope they pop off and they do
but
something.
in the trial, so he called him Putin the poisoner. But also, like he made this claim that they put poison in people's underwear, and so he called him the poisoner of underwear. And I was like, he stopped saying like he has meetings about this stuff. And I was like, what is going on in Russia?
Yeah, and there's got to be a better name, like the penis poisoner. By the way, like, that's elaborate. Like, I guess sneaking into this guy's underwear drawer and like poisoning every pair of underwear.
Yeah. But I guess maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Maybe that's how they get you.
When he walks into the store for underwear, they're like, "Oh, I have a special pair for you, sir."
He's like, "I'm wearing fresh out of the package now."
You buy tidy whities and you always look them over real careful. Oh yeah, that's just a skid mark. I'm saying.
But don't you always wash your underwear before you put it on?
Well, I'm guessing like if they go in maybe like in your wardrobe or something, and
Golly.
like next time you wear them.
Seems like a lot of work to poison somebody. They showed like how they just normally do it, and they just walk past you and like barely stick you with something. And
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to poison somebody, but
that ricin or whatever they use, that's like their favorite poison, or are they using something else?
this
now?
one was some kind of nerve agent. It had a name, but I don't remember it.
Oh, okay.
It's an extra insult though if you put it in the guy's underwear.
Yeah.
Up your beehole, buddy. The upper dicker.
All of a sudden, I feel like I got super gonorrhea.
Shouldn't have gone to that Japanese restaurant in Brazil.
Getting the taint. My taint's going numb. It's not good.
All right. Well, AJ, I've been trying to find us, some jobs that don't suck so bad. Last week, I found that candy taster job, but I think I might have found an even better one. Website offers $3,000 for Sleeping Beauty to test out mattresses. A mattress reviewing platform said it's seeking a real-life Sleeping Beauty to get paid $3,000 to test out mattresses. SleepJunkie.com said the chosen candidate will be paid to sleep on the job by trying 3 top-rated mattresses in a 2-month period and writing detailed reviews of each experience. The Sleeping Beauty will be paid $3,000 for the mattress testing job, as well as being allowed to keep the mattress of their choice at the end of their duties. To be the right fit for the role, you will need to be a self-starter, available to work immediately and independently, have clear writing skills, good evaluation skills, and be exceptionally good at sleeping, the website said.
It sounds like a little contradictory.
I know. The posting does reveal one catch to the deal. Our sleeping beauty will also have to be able to sleep alone to ensure an undisturbed night's sleep. Applications are being accepted on the website.
Wouldn't it be more interesting if, like, your review was like, "This one was really good to pound on. Got pounded really good."
A bunch of dudes pounded me in this.
It soaked up the wet spots like nothing.
Actually, if you're going to have an orgy, a mattress store would be the best.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's like right next to that restaurant. Like, which one? But yeah, I would do this job. They won't hire me because I don't fall asleep easily. That's the only thing. So since
But you lay around a lot, right?
I lay around a lot. But since I was little, I have always had trouble sleeping. Like going into high school, basically. Like I guess that's when your chemicals start changing and it's harder to like adjust to it. Like I used to sleep maybe like 2, 3 in the morning till like 6, 7 in the morning every day. Just wasn't enough. And now I take medications that help me sleep a little, but I still wouldn't get the kind of sleep that they're looking for in this. I'd be sleeping at like 2, 3 in the morning. But yeah, it sounds like a great deal.
It'd be funny if they're like, okay, but I fart in my sleep. Oh, man. Yeah, wouldn't that be kind of weird though? Like you're sleeping.
What's
but
kind of
like,
weird is
there's
they take 2 of the
looking at-
mattresses back. If you think about it.
That's true. Man, you've mentioned this, and like, I think there might be some truth to it. Like you're like, there's so many mattress stores here in Portland that it's like, are some of these just fronts for drug cartels? Because I swear to God, like there's certain streets here where there'll be like 4 mattress stores within like a block, and you're like, how the fuck do all these mattress stores exist here? It's insane.
Yeah, I've seen some really old technology stores here too, like
Oh, yeah, there's a few of
VCR
those.
type. Yeah,
Yeah, they still have like the signage is like VCRs,
Yeah.
VHS. You're like, what the fuck is this place?
definitely fronts. Yeah, I can see that.
That's true. Like even if you see something like a Radio Shack, you're like, I'm suspicious.
I haven't seen a Radio Shack in a while.
You should go in and ask for the special. The special.
You know what? You should just go through every store and ask for the special and see where you get it.
Yeah, that's true.
You're bound to find one that's like, oh, this guy knows the special.
You're gonna get a lot of like, what the fuck are you talking about? But then, yeah, that one guy.
Here comes out like a guy in a gimp suit. You're like, never mind.
I changed my mind.
He's got those little gremlins.
Oh man, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right, so this one's about the Indian farmers. So, protesting Indian farmers begin hunger strike after a week of clashes over agricultural laws. Indian farmers began a one-day hunger strike on Saturday in protest against new agricultural laws. A week of clashes with authorities that left 1 dead and hundreds injured, angry at what they see as laws benefiting large private buyers at the expense of producers. Tens of thousands of farmers have been camped at protest sites on the outskirts of the capital, New Delhi, for over 2 months. A planned tractor parade on Tuesday's Republic Day turned violent when some protesters deviated from pre-agreed routes, tore down barricades, and clashed with police, who used tear gas to try and restrain them. Farm leaders said Saturday's hunger strike was set to coincide with the death anniversary of Indian independence leader Mahatma Gandhi, and would show Indians that the protesters were overwhelmingly peaceful. The farmers' movement was peaceful and will be peaceful, said Darshan Paul, a leader of the Samyud Kisan Morcha group, of farm unions organizing the protests. The events of January 30th will be organized to spread the values of truth and nonviolence. Sporadic clashes between protesters, police, and groups shouting anti-farmer slogans have broken out on multiple occasions this week. Agriculture employs about half of India's 1.3 billion people, and unrest among the estimated 150 million landowning farmers is one of the biggest challenges to the government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi since first coming to power in 2014. 11 rounds of talks between farm unions and the government have failed to break the deadlock. The government has offered to put the laws on hold for 18 months, but farmers say they will not end their protests for anything less than a full repeal. So apparently, like, India has made these laws that would help, like, rich, like, investor type people to, like, buy the land from farmers for, like, cheap prices, I guess. I don't know what exactly these laws are supposed to put in place, like why they're supposed to make it harder for farmers and better for investors, but that's what the bend is for these laws. They tilt towards investors. And so farmers have been out for, like, I think a month now, maybe longer. They've been protesting, you know, I think it was like 250 million farmers that were protesting is what it was reported at. So 250 million people on strike from farming, and they're trying.
They can't sell for whatever they want to.
Right. There's like price limits on how much they can sell their products for.
Okay. So they're controlling the market.
Yeah, yeah. Indian farmers have been committing suicide en masse for a long time because of these price.
Yeah, it never works when government try to regulate prices on anything.
Yeah, and I mean, but the thing is, India is such a big country that if you didn't regulate the price of food, then maybe it would be unaffordable for some people, you know?
Well, generally when the government tries to regulate prices, they're going to fuck up the supply chain somehow.
I wonder what would happen if it was a free market, if it better or worse.
It's generally better. You get better. I don't know. It just works better.
Yeah, for our family, we own some farmland that, you know, actual farmers lease from us, and so yeah, we're supporting the farmers, and I heard they like they're not like just cutting off supply of food. They're providing it for free to people who come visit them at their volunteer sites, and they go to like places to deliver food to people. So it's not like New Delhi or other places that are getting completely cut off, but they're trying to make a point, like, you know, we're important to this economy. You need us. But yeah, I mean, they're not talking about that much here because I think they're afraid. Like, if you could take that much of the workforce and say, "Hey, we're on strike till we get better, whatever," then that would influence people in other places.
Yeah, I don't know. Government intervention in markets it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Well, the people on Reddit showed the power of banding together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are seeing some of that in different societies. So,
I think the guy on the bottom, like when it comes to like income, the hard worker, the laborer, who's
that's the only real that's kind of the only way you can do is just your numbers.
What?
To, you know, regain control of certain things like that.
I don't know. I feel like the guy on the bottom who's doing like most of the hard work is getting screwed, you know? Like, I get that, you know, people on top, they have the ideas, they're managers and that, but I mean, minimum wage for people who are actually doing the hard work, like, it doesn't make sense to me. People should be getting paid more than that.
Well, I mean, we're going through the minimum wage thing right now. But, I mean, the thing is, the minimum wage is always zero. You're just cutting some people out. I mean, what if I could start a business if I was going to pay someone $8 an hour and actually be able to give them some money as opposed to not being able to? I mean, yeah, you don't want to work at $8 an hour for all your life, but you get some skills, you move on.
I mean, I guess the big question there is there's always going to be a set amount to where, like, you know, if people work for this amount at, you know, let's say 40 hours a week, can they actually live and not, you know, not be in poverty, you know, based on their surroundings?
It's easier than not working at all, right?
Well, it's just
the people it's cutting out of the loop are essentially like younger people more than anyone else.
Well, I mean, the question is just how do you maintain a life when you're working 40 hours a week and you can't make ends meet.
Well, what if you're not working at all and making nothing? I mean, that's not great. That's worse.
I don't know. There's I think definitely arguments for and against the minimum wage, but
I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if they do it. It's just, especially our economy is so shitty right now, and everybody's struggling so much, especially small businesses. It's just cutting another one of their legs off. I don't know. A lot of business owners are struggling.
yeah, 2020 was not a good year for the small business owner.
Yeah, it's true.
That's for sure. All right, should we liven things up with Manifesto Round 3?
I don't know if I've got anything lively. Oh, this just came in. It's not like a big talking point, but apparently Jeff Bezos is going to be stepping down.
Oh yeah.
I just saw that pop up today. So I think it said the third quarter he's going to step down.
What is it, just like CEO or what?
He's not going to be CEO. He's still going to be on the board. He's like executive chairman or
I
something.
mean, I imagine he's still going to be making that money.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll be. I'm sure he'll have his hand in the pie. But yeah,
I mean, if you have that much money, like, how much work do you really want to be doing?
yeah. He's probably going to go put in a pool by his or a bed by his pool.
Fuck.
Start fucking through some of that money.
Mike Tyson style.
Well, his wife fucked him out of like however many billion, so she did pretty good for herself.
I mean,
Yeah, but wasn't she, I mean, she was a worker too, right? Wasn't she involved in the company and did work too?
I mean, considering as small as they started, I wouldn't be surprised if she was at some point. I don't know
I mean, I think
how deeply she was.
I don't think they hate each other. I think they still kind of get along.
yeah, they
I'm not
must.
sure he's got enough. He's still okay.
I wonder how George Lucas's wife made out because she was intricate in his business. Like she helped him a lot.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because he sold for like $1 billion to
Like
Disney,
4
right?
billion or
Four
something.
$4 billion Star Wars. Well,
Lucas, yeah. So it's Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
Star Wars. There's a few big franchises, but
He
So,
donated a bunch of that money too.
so they are making an Indiana Jones 5 with Harrison
God.
Ford. And like, here's the thing. I love Indiana Jones and I love Harrison Ford. But even I think like they should probably recast.
yeah, he's starting to get a little old.
And plus just, I mean,
How old is he? He's like 70s, almost 80 maybe? I don't know.
got to be 70s, I would think.
Yeah,
he's up
in
there.
the 70s.
But yeah, I just think Indiana Jones too. Like I don't know what the plot of Indy 5 is going to be, but obviously,
Well, we've made it past the Cold War.
yeah, that's the thing. The last one was set in when, like the 60s or something.
Yeah, 60s, 70s, something like
So
that.
like this one's going to have to probably be set in the 70s or something. And like, who wants to see like a pulp action hero set in the 70s? Like, I want to see like Nazis and 20s, 30s, 40s. That's Indiana Jones to me.
So this Crystal Skull, that's the one with Shia LaBeouf in it, right?
Yeah.
And that was set in the 60s?
Something like that. Maybe
they
50s.
were doing
maybe 50s.
they were doing nuclear testing.
It was either 50s or 60s. I forget.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I only watched Temple of Doom, to be honest, like when we were kids, and that's only because I think it was only because there was an Indian actor in there, and we were like, all right, let's watch this movie.
Now,
As
let me
Indian-
ask you, as an Indian person,
And then
how do you
found out
how do you
horribly
feel about
offensive.
that movie? Because
Oh,
I know
now it's like offensive as hell, but because we were kids, we didn't know any better. But
Yeah.
it's also about representation. So like if there were more Indian people on TV, then one bad Indian character wouldn't bother me. But it's because at that time there weren't Indian people on TV, and it was just him and like Apu. So it was just a couple of bad stereotypes. So that's why I didn't like it. But otherwise, if there were like a bunch of people, I wouldn't care about one or two people.
Man, I was talking to Zach the other day. I'd watched Revenge of the Nerds again, and just thinking about like all the things that would be very would not go over in public very well these days.
Yeah, like all that women's sorority, like
yeah,
stealing.
they're like they're breaking in and filming people without them knowing.
Well, and the worst offender is, I mean, he rapes the woman that becomes his wife.
Yeah.
She was willing.
Yeah, post rape. She was like,
Yeah, then afterwards she's like, "Oh, I can deal with this."
golly.
What the fuck?
Yikes.
Do not expect that reaction from a woman.
Isn't it kind of crazy though? Because that movie came out in the '80s, and apparently then people were just like fine with that.
It was just hijinks back then.
Well, like I said, I watched it the other day and I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it in forever, but I'm sure if I watched it, it would still be enjoyable. But yeah, definitely things like that today people will be like, "What the fuck?"
And that was the nerds doing it. We're not even talking about the jocks who
Yeah.
probably did God knows what.
that didn't do it as bad as stuff.
Lamar and his limp-wristed throwing style.
Oh, I forgot about that.
There were a couple like little gay things in there. Stupid.
Well, I got one more short, stupid story, and then we'll do our review. Unless you guys got something else you want to do. Facebook apologized for confusing landmark name with offensive term. Facebook has apologized after visitors to a popular seaside landmark in Britain found their posts removed because the name of the location was confused for a misogynistic term. Members of Facebook groups based in Plymouth, England, said posts that mentioned the name of Plymouth Hoe were removed by the social media.
I thought it was going to be like Stupid Beach or something.
And some users found their accounts temporarily suspended on accusations of using offensive language. The name of the landmark comes from the Anglo-Saxon word hoe, which describes a sloping ridge shaped like an inverted foot and heel. Facebook admitted the word was mistakenly confused for offensive speech, leading the post to posts being erroneously removed. These posts were removed in error, and we apologize to those who were affected. We're looking into what happened and will take steps to rectify the error, Facebook representative told The Guardian. Former places that had this happen include Cunt, Georgia, and Turd Burglar, Saskatchewan, Canada.
What?
I made up those.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be great, though?
He's a turd burglar. I was like, no.
You had us at cunts.
Had a sec.
I had to try to finally do one of Lester's plugging a joke thing. All right, I guess we
You
have.
can't even say hoe anymore.
No.
Yeah, hoe.
This seems like a world just for Karens. Like, oh, he said hoe. Let's get rid of that motherfucker. Like, oh, there's some real pieces of shit out there winning these battles, and you can't even do anything. Fucking hoes.
I remember in high school, we were reading Romeo and Juliet, and in class they actually like assigned us all a part, and we just did it like a read, you know.
Oh, okay.
And like at one point, there's a line where the king goes, "Fetch me my longsword, ho!" And like the person read it like, "Fetch me my longsword, ho!"
That's how I would have read it
Artistic interpretation.
All right. So this week, you know, HBO Max, they're doing that thing where they're putting movies that would have been theatrically released on HBO Max. And the latest movie is The Little Things. Let me see here. The official movie synopsis reads thusly. Deputy Sheriff Joe Deacon joins forces with Sergeant Jim Baxter to search for a serial killer who's terrorizing Los Angeles. As they track the culprit, Baxter is unaware that the investigation is dredging up echoes of Deke's past, uncovering disturbing secrets that could threaten more than his case. The movie was written and directed by John Lee Hancock. It stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. So first we'll do our spoiler-free impression. So I'll just say I found this movie to be very disappointing. I would describe this movie as the cinematic equivalent of Blue Balls, because I feel like they set something up you know, and they just never deliver. And we'll talk about it. I kind of feel like I know what they were going for, but it was so unsatisfying that I can't really recommend this movie. What do you guys think? Spoiler free.
I thought it was so boring, and it just didn't deliver, like you said. There was nothing there.
I thought it was okay, but also like at the same time, there were elements that I thought were fairly predictable, even though they were trying to do something like original. So I don't know.
Just kind of blah for you. Well, okay, let's get into the spoiler. So basically, plot wise, Denzel Washington, he plays this former Los Angeles homicide detective.
Right, he's still like a country cop.
Yeah, he now works just as like a regular cop in some shithole town north of L.A. And one day his boss is like, "Hey, we got some evidence down in your old stomping grounds of Los Angeles. We need you to go pick it up for us." And he's like, "Okay." So he goes down there. There's a mix-up with evidence where he's not going to be able to get it until the next day. So he's like, oh, "Okay, I'll spend the night here." And he kind of interacts with some of the old people he worked with. And at the same time, he finds out that there's an open case that's garnered a lot of public attention. That's a serial killer case, and Rami Malek plays like the lead detective on the case. It just so happens that night they find another body related to the case. So Rami Malek's like, "Hey, you're a famous detective. Why don't you come help us? Look at the scene." So he goes to the scene, and basically, this case reminds him of some bodies that were found when he was a detective in LA. And so like he thinks, it might be the same killer. So basically Denzel cashes in some of his paid time off days, and he stays in LA to see if he can solve the case or whatever. So eventually he tracks down the prime suspect of the case, which is Jared Leto. And he's definitely like a strange dude. But he seems to know a lot about the murder cases, even things that were never released to the public. But basically later on, Denzel breaks into the guy's apartment, and he finds all this stuff that, basically this guy just seems like he's like an obsessed guy. He's always got the cop scanner on, and he's following, like he's got all the newsprint cutouts of these cases and stuff. And so you don't really know if this guy is the killer, well, to begin with, or if he's just like this like weirdo who's like obsessed with the case.
Yeah, so yeah, basically he's like a crime buff. And there's also like an incident where he'd confessed to a murder before that he was not guilty of.
Yeah. So basically what happens is we find out that Denzel, back in the day when he was on one of those cases, he accidentally shot an innocent woman, and she died. And basically his friend who worked for the department helped him cover it up.
Yeah.
And so then what happens is Jared Leto, Denzel and Rami Malek are basically following Jared Leto around, and they're parked outside his house, and Denzel eventually goes to get coffee, and like we assume that Jared Leto's like knows that they're following him, he's watching them, and so since he knows Rami Malek's alone, he goes and he's like, they never found the very last like woman that went missing that they think was caught by the serial killer, and so like he's like, "Okay, come with me, and I'll show you where she's buried." So they go, and like Denzel was just coming back as they left, so he like gets in the car and he's trying to follow them, but he's a bit away, ways from them. And so basically, Jared Leto drives Rami Malek out to this place and gives him a shovel, and he's like, "Oh, she's buried right there," and he digs up, and there's nothing there. And he's like, "Oh, you know what? Over there." And like the whole time, he's like basically taunting Rami Malek, and eventually pisses him off. And Rami Malek hits him in the face with the shovel, and it kills him. And that's when Denzel pulls up. And so then what happens is Denzel basically aids Rami Malek in covering up the case. And then once he does that, like there was a bit before where we found out like the woman that was missing, she always had this red beret in her hair.
Yeah, they really shoehorned that in.
Yeah, they want you to know that. And so basically Denzel, he goes back to... Now this was one thing I was unclear on. So as Rami Malek is supposed to be burying the body, he goes to Jared Leto's apartment and he basically bags up a bunch of shit. And is the stuff he bags up like things that he thinks could lead the police to thinking he's not the killer? Is that why he took all that stuff?
I think he just wanted to make it look like he'd packed up and left.
Oh, okay.
I think he pretty much packed up everything.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what it was. So he does that, and then Rami Malek gets this package from Denzel that has the red beret in it. It's basically, telling Rami Malek that, hey, this guy was the killer, But then, very end of the movie, how it ends is Denzel's back home. He's burning all this stuff that he bagged up. And then the very last thing he does is he throws away a thing of beret. So he bought the beret. And basically, there was a part also, I should have set this up, where, he could tell that Rami Malek was much like him and was, obsessed with finding the killer. And he basically wanted to make sure that Rami Malek didn't have the guilt that he has over accidentally killing the woman that he killed. That's how I read it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why he gave him this beret and, made him think that, hey, you killed the guy, but he was the killer. And and then fade to black, that's how the movie ends. This is my main problem with the movie, is you don't... I'm fine with him, that part of it, but the fact that they never gave us the killer, I hate, because you don't set up a murder mystery and then not give us a murderer.
Well, I mean, I think that was kind of the whole point, but again, he gave the guy the beret, but next week when somebody else goes missing, he's going to be like, oh, this is horseshit.
And that's the other thing. This is what they could have done to save this movie, is Denzel figures out who the killer actually was, and then we get the scene of Denzel, killing the real killer, but Rami Malek is none the wiser.
Possibly. Another ending I think they almost had to have considered, and I think it would have been stronger if they would have done this, is to not tell us, whether that one guy out in the desert was actually the killer or not, and not show us burning the beret. So you're like, did he do it? Did he fake it or not? Because he was in the position to do it. I predicted, the beret thing before the end. And I think just leaving it as a mystery would have been a little bit stronger.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I was confused by the plan of Jared Leto. He was like, all right, let's just drive out there in the middle of nowhere.
So he's basically, he's getting a hard on just fucking with them. It's just fun for him. And he's he's a creep. And he's into it, but he's probably not the killer.
That's another thing they alluded to, is this is kind of a sexual thing for him. Because there's that part where they're actually interrogating him, and Denzel notices that he's got a huge boner or something. Right. He's like, you're harder than Chinese arithmetic.
That's terrible.
That's one of Jim Cornette's lines.
So who was that guy who killed himself, where they interrogated him and he called during the interview and he was asking him about this girl? And
oh, right. They had a suspect because he was in the area and he'd been
He was a peeping Tom.
Yeah, he was like a peeping Tom or a stalker or something, but he wasn't the one, or they didn't think he was the one.
Right.
But
So
like,
yeah, I don't
he
know if he just like lost it after they interrogated him and killed himself or what exactly. But yeah, he was like a peeping Tom in the area. And that's why they brought him in.
Yeah, they kind of showed him, didn't really expand upon like what
Yeah,
his
I
whole
didn't,
thing was.
didn't even think about it. Maybe he was the killer.
I don't know why, but for a while I thought they were gonna set up the like the bald cop with the mustache. I thought they were gonna set him up as the killer. I don't know why.
Well, in the very beginning, I was wondering if it was like the one detective, but I mean, it proved out pretty quickly that he wasn't. But he just was kind of being weird and an asshole. And
You know, the other thing that could have saved this movie a little bit too is, I mean, it's called The Little Things, and so I think it would have been cool if they would have like, you know, laid out these clues to where, like, if you paid attention, you could actually decipher who the killer was. But I don't believe that to be the case.
yeah, you don't usually see that. But there was one point, like, you know, where he was like, she always wore a red beret. You know, Mr. Thompson. It was like hint, hint. And you're like, oh, this is going to be important later, I guess. But it was like a completely random fact that didn't make any sense that he would be talking about it.
Yeah, and I didn't really think about it at the time, but you're exactly right. The fact that the killer's still out there, you know, presumably he's just going to kill again, and then Rami Malek's going to be like, oh, the beret was
Yeah.
bullshit anyway. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if they would have just added one more scene on where, you know, Denzel figured out who the killer was and killed the killer, like, then I would be like, you know, this was a decent movie. And like the thing of it is like I actually thought like the first, you know, 2/3 of the movie were fine, but then like I can't recommend people going through that because it's just going to end so unsatisfying.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like the first 1/3 of the movie was really hard for me to watch, just because it was so slow. And you know how suspense movies start out; they lay out everything,
Right.
and so yeah, I had to turn it off after like 30 minutes and just do something else, and then try to get back into it.
All right. Any final thoughts about the movie, you guys?
Not really.
No, it
What are we
sucked.
watching next week?
Well, first, what would you guys give the 0 out of 10? I like to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Like 3 out of 10.
I don't know, 5 or 6. I wasn't. I was in
Yeah.
the middle of the road.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like a 4. It wasn't like the acting was fine. I think they did fine with what they were given. It's just at the end of the day.
Yeah, really, they're all good actors.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, it just was so unsatisfying the way it ended. Yeah, I don't know what would be a good thing to watch for next week. We might have to figure it out off.
I don't know. Now that we have Disney, I'm looking for the second chapter of Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
watched the first.
I haven't watched. I haven't
I'm gonna
watched.
say I don't think I can watch it all in a week. But
That's the thing is like it gets harder when you want to review television because it's a little more of a time commitment. But maybe we can find a movie on there to watch too. We'll find something.
Yeah.
Or even better, people out there we hope are watching.
Revenge of the Nerds 2.
You could follow us on Twitter. Where could they do that?
A name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At Unsolicited SUG.
And at Zach Jones Live, ZachJonesLive. And you could actually tell us what movie you'd like us to review. And we could do that for you. Or, even easier, if you're watching this on YouTube, just go into the old YouTube comments and leave us a comment right there and let us know. Also, if you're there, please like, subscribe, leave us a positive review, all that good stuff. Guys, you got anything to add before we wrap things up?
No, we're good.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for all of our nonsense and bullshit this week. Please tune in again next week. Thank you. Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
guys.